Flavors and Knowledge is a bilingual podcast focusing on gastronomic education in relation to a healthy lifestyle through food first. Our philosophy carries a moral obligation of sharing sensible knowledge to generate social awareness. Podcasts are in English with an accent and Italian.
Hey friends, welcome back to Flavors and Knowledge. I'm Chef Walter. In this episode, we'll talk about the foods that has made Rhode Island famous. But most of all, food that is hard to find anywhere else in the land. I'd like to begin with some basic information. Rhode Island, measuring only about 48 miles long and 37 miles wide, is the smallest of the U.S. states. Despite its small area, is known as the Ocean State and boasts over 400 miles of coastline. It was founded by Roger Williams in 1636, who had been banished from the Massachusetts colony for his advocacy of religious tolerance and the separation of church and state. During the colonial period, Newport was a major hub for shipping and trade. And in the 19th century, Rhode Island was at the forefront of the Industrial Revolution and the establishment of power-driven textile mills. There are, however, plenty of information on the history of the state, considering that it was one of the original 13 colonies in the formation of our land. The focus of this podcast is about food and what makes the state a most visit and taste. I think its culinary richness has to be credited to the many immigration movements that took place here from 1840. As Irish escaped Ireland due to the potato famine, other ethnic groups landed here, and their arrivals brought ingenuity and culinary traditions. From Italians to Portuguese, to French and of course British, to mention the largest contingents, others joined later in the 20th century such as Greeks, Koreans, Chinese, Latinos, Mexicans, and lastly, Middle Easterns. The variety of food connected with these ethnic groups is the key to Rhode Island's culinary expansion. The state features some of the most diverse cultural fabric in the land, even in a territory no bigger than the city of Los Angeles. And along with these different food groups, the diversity of restaurant and food-related establishments have grown immensely in the last half-century. This is also reflected in the several numbers of young chefs who prominently perform routinely at the James Beard Foundation in New York City, considered to be the theater for culinary stardom. But let's talk about the actual food that makes the state different. Food that you will not find anywhere in the country, food with its traditions, heritage, and terminology. Rhode Islanders are pretty provincial, and traveling is almost an issue. That is the reason why many of these dishes don't go through the state line. They stay close to home, and the culture stays with them. As Ted Widmer, an historian who grew up in Rhode Island, once asserted that middle American desire to succeed behind your neighborhood has never animated Rhode Islanders. He said, "What's important is your extended family, the people who live on your block, and maybe 10 other people you've known all your life. It's a very, very local community." And so, what are the food of the state? Well, I had to do a deep soul searching on this because first on my list is the New York system weenie, which dates back to the early 1900s, when hot dogs began appearing in Rhode Island, even if they were still associated primarily with New York. Rhode Island Franks are called weenies and never hot dogs. They have a distinct style of preparation, which crystallized around 1940 among the Providence Greek immigrant community and their hot dog vendors, and then, of course, spread throughout the state. The weenies here are cut short, usually about 4 inches. They cook slowly on a low-heat griddle through the day and are served in a soft steamed bun. Counter clerks apply mustard, chopped raw onion, celery salt, and the true hallmark for hot weenies, a greasy ground beef sauce that's not quite a chili, not quite a gravy, but distinct unto itself. Another feature related to the weenies is the courageous arms of the cooks, who line the weenies in the buns from the wrist up to the forearm. Then, they proceed to top the weenies with the steaming hot sauce, which occasionally spills over from the bun and burns their arms. And because this practice is done live, the key is to never show pain to the waiting patrons. The classic beverage at our weenie shops and most other Rhode Island restaurants is coffee milk, which is like chocolate milk but is made with coffee syrup. The first coffee syrup available for retail sale was a Warwick-based brand called Eclipse, which made its debut in 1938 and became known as "You'll smack your lips when it's Eclipse." It was the perfect slogan. Autocrat Company soon followed with its own version, and later acquired the Eclipse brand and condensed the two. The syrups were instant hits, presaging a statewide love affair with the coffee-sugar-dairy combination. Rhode Island is among the national leaders in coffee ice cream consumption, having been so designated by the legislature in 1993. Then we have Dell's Frozen Lemonade, a Creston-based chain founded in 1948 by Angelo De Lucia, who used a recipe that his grandfather brought from Italy. Imagine a cup of half-melted snow. It is as refreshing for its icy texture as for its tart flavor, which comes from real lemons and not processed syrup. As you can imagine, people line up during the summer season all across the state. More substantial beverage than coffee milk and Dell's are available in Rhode Island, but the dialect can be confusing. If you ask for a milkshake here, you'll get a mix of milk and syrup. If you want what the most Americans call a milkshake with ice cream mixed in, you must order a cabinet. The term precise origin are unclear, but the most commonly accepted explanation involves early milkshake blenders which were shipped in heavy wooden cabinets. There is also something called an awful, which is short for awful big and awful good, and is available from a regional chain called Newport Creamery. This is an immense thick shake that is nearly impossible to finish. The awful has become a statewide institution, rich and fat, with a memorable lasting flavor in the palate. This is one of those that you should probably have just about twice a year. And thanks to its coastal setting, Rhode Island has a rich seafood heritage, much of it centering on quahogs, which are large chowder clams usually measuring 4 to 5 inches across. The region's first European settlers learned about quahogs from the Narragansett Indians, who had been eating them for centuries, and had cultivated clam beds that remain today bountiful. Because of the way the state is configured, almost everybody is near a shoreline, so people all go to the beach. And if you're down there and dig with your toes, chances are you will hear a quahog one time or another. Although the term quahog is not unique to Rhode Island and technically also applies to smaller hard-shell clams like cherry stones and lillinecks, it has a specific meaning on local menus. The fresh shucked clams are chopped or ground and mixed into a stuffing, which typically includes breadcrumbs, Tabasco sauce, minced onion, celery, peppers, and often the Portuguese sausage chorizo, reflecting the influence of Rhode Island's large Portuguese population. The stuffing is then spooned back into the large clamshell and baked, resulting in a big, delicious serving. Stuffed quahogs are often called stuffies, and the two terms are used interchangeably throughout the state. I personally make them with ground Ritz crackers and reduce the salt amount. It's also important to add a little bit of butter and take advantage of the salty, briny water that you must reserve when you're shucking them. Then we have the clam fritters, fried like a similar rendition of southern hush puppies. Although some renditions are a little bit light on the clam department, well-executed clams are a treat. A little difficult to digest and a little heavy for my personal taste, but here again, they are treats to have with caution. In the 70s, I landed my first job cooking in Black Island, located just off the coast of the state. And along with washing the dishes and the pots, occasionally I was dragged into cooking the clam cakes, especially during the lunchtime service. Whatever leftovers were offered as a token of appreciation to the seagulls, who routinely monitored the shores. Other types of fritters are the doughboys, hunks of deep-fried pizza dough usually rolled in granulated sugar. They probably originated with the Rhode Island Italian population and are often available at pizzeria and county fairs, but also found at many of the seafood shacks that serve Clem's Casino and the Stuffies. And if you are traveling toward the beach in the early morning to avoid traffic, why not make a stop at Allie's Donut Shop? Allie has been turning out hot-to-trot homemade donuts from a roadside shack on Route 2 for over 50 years, and Rhode Islanders travel from across the state to take them away by the dozens. Sorry, Dunkin' lovers, but these guys are the real New England donuts. Finally, no overview of Rhode Island culinary heritage would be complete without Johnny cakes, the unleavened cornmeal pancakes served at breakfast hunts. The name's origin is a matter of some dispute, as is its spelling. My colleague chef Jack Yarrow offered the simplest assertion. His preferred explanation is that the term derives from Johnnican, an Indian word for corn. In any case, it's generally agreed that Johnny cakes, or something very much like them, were being prepared by the Narragansett Indians as far back as the 1600s, when European colonists arrived and learned about them. They haven't changed much over the years, mainly because the recipe is really rooted in simplicity itself: cornmeal, water, and a dash of salt. The batter is fried in a cast iron skillet and topped with butter, maple syrup, or even honey. Johnny cake purists, that is, most of Rhode Islanders, insist that a Johnny cake it is not authentic unless it's made from white-cap flint corn, grown and ground into meal right here in Rhode Island, preferably with the millstones made of Rhode Island granite. The near-universal brand of choice is Canyons, produced by a local mill that dates back to 1886, and whose little blue boxes of the meal itself are staples in every one of Rhode Island grocery stores. Today, however, corn growing is not abundant in the state and mostly comes from Virginia. It's no different in Vermont, really, where not too many buckets of maple syrup are hanging from the trees lately anyways. Few other dishes of particular interest I like to mention. One is called snail salad, which falls into the category of conch, or large snail. It's boiled, removed from the shell, cleaned with a lot of care, and then sliced thin or cubed. It's mixed with red onion, celery, little chili pepper, extra virgin olive oil, and an acid of choice, which could be either lemon or white vinegar. This is a starter and a favorite among the Italian Americans here, and among them is known as scuncilli. But I have not found any of such names in the Italian dictionary, and being born in Italy, growing up, never heard of that particular word. I'm inclined to think that it's a term originated here in the state, but I have no idea of its derivation. There is also clams casino, which is a little neck split in two, topped with a mixture of seasoned breadcrumb, butter, and also topped with a piece of smoky bacon. Other states claim the birthplace because there were no gambling casino in Rhode Island in the 40s. One story mentions the dish as appearing in Las Vegas, and that could be the truth, but what's fascinating is that the men who first shared the dish to the various restaurants there were, of course, from Rhode Island, you guessed it. He was the head of the hospitality union in the state of Nevada and was born and raised in North Providence. Lastly, a couple of dishes from the prominent Italian community in the state. If you travel across America today, you will find a pink vodka sauce on pasta made with tomato and cream. I know for a fact that most Italian-style franchise restaurants feature the sauce as a staple. And even in the middle of Nebraska, someone is ordering the rich and flashy pasta as we speak. And yes, it started here, in Little Rhode, along with pink clam sauce that's neither white nor red and not even pink. But someone with culinary ingenuity added some tomato to the white clam-based sauce, which is made with garlic, olive oil, chopped clams, and minced parsley. And almost forgot the veal steak. This cut of veal was incredibly popular in the 70s. I remember cutting them twice a day in my kitchens. The cut derived from a veal loin chop. We then removed the bones and cut the loin across, about 3 inches in height. Grilled on an open fire, were served with mushroom, onions, and peppers in a reduced marsala wine glaze. Eventually, the meat supply industry got greedy, and today they sell the loin with the bones attached, and it's called veal chop. So essentially, they gave us the bones, which have the most weight, but for some reason, they never reduced the price. And so you go figure. And so, friends, these are the symbolic dishes of Rhode Island, called affectionately the calamari state, because the fresh calamari are known all over the world. They are the very best in these waters. Lightly fried in various coatings, enjoyed with fresh lemon and salt, and never dipped in marinara sauce. To us purists, that is considered a criminal food act. I hope I didn't forget any dishes, and if I did, please let me know. We invite you to follow our podcast on your preferred platform, and if you have a chance, tune in to our News You Can Eat 24 videocast on YouTube under the search of Chef Walter's Cooking School. For any recipes on this podcast, connect with us. The email will be listed on the show notes page. Lastly, all I need to tell you is when you cook, keep your eyes on the fire, and we'll chat with you next time. Thanks for listening. Ciao, ciao.
Flavors and Knowledge is brought to you by Chef Walter's Cooking School in Cranston, Rhode Island. For classes, workshops, events, and programs, please visit our website at chefwalterscookingschool.com. For all other services offered by Chef Walter's Food Group, check out our main website, chefwalter.com.